Imagine a man who fought so fiercely for his country's freedom that his name still echoes through the highlands of Scotland, even after 7 centuries. This man is William Wallace. Born to a commoner's family in the late 13th century, Wallace's life was anything but ordinary. His early years were marked by the struggles and hardships of a nation under the oppressive rule of the English monarch. The landscape of Scotland was a turbulent one, with tensions between the English and the Scots simmering beneath the surface. Wallace grew up amid these tumultuous times, his character shaped by the resilience and fortitude of his people. His father's death, a significant turning point in his life, fueled his fervent desire for freedom and justice. The loss of his father, a brave man who dared to stand against the English oppression, ignited a spark in young Wallace. He witnessed the grim reality of an oppressed nation, the plight of his people, and the unjust rule of a foreign power. These experiences, coupled with the memories of his father's courage, instilled in him a deep-seated resolve to fight for his homeland. His life took a dramatic turn when he decided to take up arms against the English. The commoner's son, who once roamed the rugged terrains of Scotland, was now ready to lead an uprising, to challenge the mighty English Empire. His path was fraught with challenges, but his unyielding spirit never wavered. His determination was as steadfast as the Scottish Highlands, his courage as fierce as the roaring waves of the North Sea. His journey from a commoner's son to a national hero was not an easy one, but his unwavering commitment to his cause, his indomitable spirit, and his relentless pursuit of freedom for his people set him apart. He was not just a man, he was a symbol of resistance, a beacon of hope for a nation yearning for liberation. Thus began the journey of a commoner who was destined to become the beacon of hope for an oppressed nation. Every legend has a defining moment. For William Wallace, it was the brutal murder of his wife Marion. Marion was more than just a wife to Wallace. She was his confidant, his beacon of hope amidst the raging storm of English oppression. But fate had a cruel twist in store. One fateful day, an English sheriff, a symbol of the very tyranny that Wallace despised, took Marion's life in cold blood. Her murder was not just an act of violence, it was a declaration of war, a challenge to the spirit of Scotland that lived within Wallace. The pain of losing Marion was unbearable, but it wasn't grief that consumed Wallace. No, it was something far more potent: rage. A burning, seething fury that ignited a spark within him, a spark that would soon turn into a raging inferno, engulfing the entire land of Scotland. Restraint was no longer an option for Wallace. He had lost everything he held dear, but he would not lose his homeland. And so, he retaliated. In a daring act of defiance, Wallace struck back, claiming the life of the very sheriff who had taken away his world. This was not an act of vengeance. It was a resounding statement. A statement that tyranny would not go unanswered, that the spirit of Scotland would not be broken. But Wallace's rebellion did not end there. The sheriff's death was just the beginning. From that day forward, Wallace committed himself to a cause much greater than himself: the liberation of Scotland. He rallied his fellow Scots, uniting them under a single banner, a single cause: freedom. Wallace's courage and determination inspired a nation, turning ordinary men into warriors, and warriors into heroes. And so, in the face of personal tragedy, Wallace found his purpose: to free Scotland from English tyranny. His name would echo through the ages, not as a man, but as a symbol of resistance, of courage, and above all, of freedom. Wallace's spark of rebellion had ignited a flame that would burn brightly for centuries to come, a beacon of hope for all those who yearned for freedom. In the year 1297, the world witnessed the might of a truly indomitable spirit as Wallace led the Scots to a historic victory. Imagine this. The sun is barely peeking over the horizon, the air is charged with anticipation, and the Scottish warriors, led by William Wallace, are poised on the banks of the River Forth, near Stirling Bridge. They are greatly outnumbered by the English forces, yet there's a fire in their eyes that speaks volumes of their determination. Wallace, their leader, is not a man to be swayed by the odds. He knows that the narrow wooden bridge is the only way for the English to cross the river. He knows that if he can control that bridge, he can control the battle. As the English begin to cross the bridge, Wallace holds his men back, biding his time. The English, confident in their superior numbers, see this as a sign of fear. But Wallace knows what he's doing. He's waiting for the right moment. When about half of the English forces have crossed the bridge, Wallace makes his move. He orders his men to attack, catching the English off guard. The Scots charge, their cries echoing across the field, and the English on the Scottish side of the bridge are quickly overwhelmed. The narrow bridge prevents the rest of the English forces from coming to their comrades' aid. They can only watch in horror as Wallace and his men lay waste to their ranks. By the time the battle is over, the Scots have won a resounding victory, despite their smaller numbers. This battle was not just a victory for Scotland, it was a testament to Wallace's strategic brilliance. He turned the English's numerical advantage into a disadvantage, using the landscape to his benefit. His leadership, courage, and cunning marked him out as a true hero of Scotland. Stirling Bridge was not just a battle, it was the proclamation of Scottish resistance. A statement that Scotland would not be conquered easily, a testament to the courage and resilience of its people, and a ringing endorsement of the leadership of William Wallace. Following the triumph at Stirling Bridge, Wallace rose from being a rebel to a revered leader. His victory didn't just echo across the battlefields but resonated in the halls of power too. Scotland, in all her rugged beauty, had found a champion in this humble son of hers. In the year of our Lord, 1297, William Wallace was appointed as the Guardian of Scotland, a title that was both a recognition of his leadership and a challenge for the future. The Guardian of Scotland, a title as grand as the mountains themselves, and as weighty as the sea. But Wallace was no ordinary man. He was a man of action, a man of courage, and above all, a man of the people. He understood that to guard Scotland was not simply to protect its borders, but to ensure the well-being of its people, the strength of its culture, and the sovereignty of its crown. Under Wallace's guardianship, Scotland began to fortify itself. Castles were strengthened, armies were raised, and alliances were sought. Wallace understood the value of unity in the face of adversity. He reached out to other nations, seeking their support and understanding. He approached the French and the Papal States, hoping to secure their recognition of Scotland's independence. But the role of guardian was not without its challenges. Wallace had to navigate the treacherous waters of political intrigue, manage the competing interests of powerful Scottish nobles, and constantly anticipate the next English move. Yet, through it all, his commitment to Scotland never wavered. His resolve, as steadfast as the Scottish Highlands, was unyielding. In Wallace, the Scottish people found more than just a guardian. They found a symbol of their spirit, a beacon of their hopes, and a testament to their resilience. He was the embodiment of their struggle for freedom, their defiance against oppression, and their aspiration for a future where Scotland stood proud and independent. In Wallace, Scotland found a guardian who would stop at nothing to ensure its freedom. His story is a testament to the unyielding spirit of Scotland, a spirit that continues to echo across the centuries, inspiring generations to rise up and defend their homeland. Even the mightiest of warriors faced defeat. For Wallace, it came at the Battle of Falkirk in 1298. The Battle of Falkirk was a turning point in Wallace's story. The English king, Edward I, led an army nearly twice the size of the Scots. Despite a valiant fight, the sheer numbers and tactical superiority of the English forces overpowered Wallace's men. The Scots' Chiltern formations, previously successful at Stirling Bridge, were decimated by the English longbowmen. The battle was lost, and with it, the momentum of Wallace's rebellion. In the aftermath, Wallace resigned his title as Guardian of Scotland. The defeat at Falkirk was a heavy blow to his leadership. He was succeeded by Robert the Bruce and John Comyn, two Scottish nobles with competing interests. Wallace, however, refused to fade into obscurity. He continued his efforts, operating more as a guerrilla leader than a formal military commander. His tireless resistance, though, eventually led to his capture in 1305. Betrayed by a Scottish knight, Sir John de Menteith, Wallace was seized near Glasgow. The English were relentless. They charged him with high treason, refusing to acknowledge that he had never sworn allegiance to Edward I. Wallace was taken to London, where he awaited a fate as grim as any he had imposed on his enemies. His capture marked the end of an era, yet his spirit remained as fierce as ever. Upon his capture, it is said that he declared, "I cannot be a traitor, for I owe him no allegiance. He is not my sovereign, he never received my homage, and whilst life is in this persecuted body, he never shall receive it." Despite the setback, Wallace's spirit remained unbroken, his resolve unshaken. His words echoed the spirit of a defiant Scotland, a spirit that would continue to resist English rule for years to come. His story was far from over. Even in chains, Wallace was a symbol of Scottish resistance, a beacon of hope for his people. His capture was but a chapter in the larger saga of Scotland's fight for freedom. In 1305, Wallace was sentenced to a public execution, but his death was not an end, rather a beginning. Imagine a man, standing tall and unyielding, even as the shadow of death looms over him. This was William Wallace, the Guardian of Scotland, in the face of his execution. He was charged with treason against King Edward I of England, a title he rejected, for he had never sworn allegiance to the king. As the crowd gathered, murmurs of trepidation and respect filled the air. Wallace's crime was not considered a crime by him, nor by many of those present. It was a cry for freedom, a rebellion against an oppressive rule. And so, even on the brink, he stood firm, a beacon of defiance against the English crown. The method of execution was gruesome, designed to instill fear into the hearts of onlookers. Hung, drawn, and quartered, it was a punishment reserved for those deemed the most heinous of traitors. But Wallace, he bore it with a fortitude that left a lasting impression on all who witnessed it. As he was led to the gallows, he did not falter, his gaze steady, his spirit unbroken. His final words echoed through the silent crowd, a testament to his unyielding belief in the freedom of his homeland. "I could not be a traitor to Edward, for I was never his subject," he proclaimed, his voice steady and strong. With his execution, the English hoped to quell the rebellion, to dampen the flames of resistance. But they could not have been more wrong. For with his death, Wallace's message resonated louder than ever. His bravery in the face of death, his unwavering commitment to his cause, and his steadfast belief in the freedom of Scotland, inspired his countrymen. They carried his legacy forward, fueling the fires of rebellion and keeping alive the spirit of resistance. In death, Wallace became a symbol of courage and defiance, inspiring future generations. His execution was not his end, but the beginning of a new chapter in Scotland's fight for independence. His spirit, his words, and his actions became the rallying cry for a nation seeking to break free from the shackles of English rule. More than 700 years have passed, but the name William Wallace still resonates with the spirit of freedom. From the rolling hills of Scotland to the far reaches of the globe, the tale of this legendary warrior and his fight for Scottish independence has echoed through the ages. Wallace's rebellion was more than just a clash of swords and shields. It was a stand against oppression, a cry for liberty, a spark that ignited the flame of Scottish nationalism. In the wake of his rebellion, Scotland found the courage to rise against the heavy hand of English rule. The Battle of Bannockburn, just a decade after Wallace's execution, saw the Scots seize their freedom, a victory that many attribute to the inspiration drawn from Wallace's undying spirit. His struggle, his bravery, his sacrifice, they were the catalysts that galvanized a nation to fight for their right to self-determination. William Wallace's influence, however, extends far beyond the historical realm. His story has been immortalized in popular culture, marking him as an enduring symbol of resistance against tyranny. From the pages of Blind Harry's epic poem, The Actes and Deities of the Illustre and Valiant Campion Sir William Wallace in the late 15th century, to the silver screen portrayal by Mel Gibson in the blockbuster Braveheart in the late 20th century, Wallace's tale has captivated audiences worldwide. His name has become synonymous with the timeless struggle for freedom. Despite the historical inaccuracies that often come with such portrayals, the essence of Wallace's spirit, his unyielding resolve and his love for his homeland have been faithfully captured. His character continues to inspire, reminding us that even in the face of overwhelming odds, the human spirit is capable of extraordinary feats. In Scotland today, William Wallace's legacy is as alive as ever. His name graces streets, buildings, and monuments, standing as a testament to his indomitable spirit. The Wallace Monument, towering over the landscape of Stirling, is a poignant reminder of his sacrifice. Each year, thousands of visitors climb the 246 steps to the top, drawn to pay homage to the man who gave his life for the cause of freedom. But perhaps the most enduring part of Wallace's legacy is the sense of national pride he instilled. His story continues to shape the Scottish identity, fostering a strong sense of cultural unity and a deep-seated love for their homeland. His tale, woven into the fabric of their history, serves as a constant reminder of the power of courage, conviction, and the indomitable human spirit. William Wallace, a commoner turned hero, left an indelible mark on history, reminding us all that one man's courage can indeed shape the destiny of a nation.